Hey, welcome back. In this video, we're going to go ahead and look at drawing hands. This is part 2 in a series of drawing hands. And in the last video, we talked about the idea of using a trapezoidal shape and creating a bowling pin representation for the thumb. And before we start talking about fingers, what I would like to do is talk about the overall shape of the fingers as a collective group. So you can think of the fingers as being another trapezoidal shape that's roughly the same height or size as the palm. Okay, so these are about equal. So we need to get comfortable with drawing this in a wide variety of positions. So if we're having the palm facing us, we need to realize that there is a thickness to that palm. We're looking at it as a head-on object. And we can bend the fingers. And here's a representation of our thumb. And we can draw that from various angles. So I'll draw a view looking up. And why are we going from, why are we taking it really basic? It's because that if we understand the basics, we can add the details pretty easily. So let me just fix this one real quick. We want to have part of this stick out, right? And, you know, this is like the first step that I use when I'm trying to dissect something. So when you're trying to learn something, it's always best to break it down into simplified things, right? So simplified steps. So let's now put this into practice. Got a curve. There's our thumb. Right? And the next step I would like for you to do is I'd like for you to just add a small triangle. And this triangle is going to be above the palm. And that triangle is going to serve as an indicator for where our first finger is going to go. Now the fingers themselves are going to move in towards the center. Right? They're all going to curve in. And something to keep in mind here is that, and I'll rotate this so you can see it better, there is going to be a stair-step configuration here where you've got your pointer finger, you've got your middle finger, you've got your ring finger, and then you've got your pinky. Right? So these are the stair steps that you want to keep in mind when you're looking at the individual fingers themselves. So let's just simplify this by drawing a line somewhere towards the close to the top point. We'll first indicate our pinky. We'll drop it a little bit lower. We'll take our ring finger, our middle finger, and our pointer finger. And the pointer and the ring are roughly the same size, but we have this nice stair step that occurs, right? And the other thing to keep in mind is that all of these individual segments are moving towards the center of the palm. Now, what happens if our fingers are outstretched? So let's consider that scenario. So we're going to draw a triangular wedge. Let's go ahead and draw our thumb. Right? We're going to create the middle finger roughly where the tip of this triangle exists. That's really important for positioning. And then what we can do is we can simply draw tubes draw the webbing. So the key takeaway here is that there is a distance between where the thumb emanates from the palm and where the fingers originate from the top of the palm. So let's look at what this looks like if you're looking at the hand face down. So in this particular case, we'll do the same thing. We'll draw our triangle. It's not an equivalent triangle, it's a little bit asymmetrical, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And let's go ahead and put our thumb in for context. And these fingers are tapering. They're getting progressively thinner as we go out to the ends of the fingers. Maybe I'll just increase that a little bit more. All right, so now that we have this concept understood, let's now focus on putting this to actual use. So I will go ahead and reiterate here. Let's say that we want the thumb to kind of curve out. We'll draw our triangle. And we're going to talk about folding fingers and bent fingers and all that stuff, gripping objects. That's going to be the subject of a later video, so I'm not really going to concern myself too much with that. But right now, I want you to be aware of the shape of the actual fingers. And these are little webbings that we have. So this is something that you really want to go ahead and practice. Make sure that when you're drawing the fingers, you're seeing that stair-step configuration. And that's like an important landmark too. We haven't talked about knuckles yet. We haven't talked about folding fingers. We're just going with very, very basics because I want this to be approachable for everybody. I'll do one more. We'll draw some feminine hands. So we talked about that in the last video. I'll put a link to that. We got the triangle. And so for feminine hands, what I would do is just create a little pinch and stretch. And you've got the webbing there. And we'll do one more. We'll have another feminine hand, this time facing down. So we're going to draw our triangle. Where this triangle, where the tip meets, this finger is going to be the longest finger. And remember, all of these hands, or these fingers, are going to curve towards the center in this specific scenario. In an upcoming video, we'll talk about grouping fingers and, getting more complex expressions with the hands. But for right now, I think this is a really good thing to go ahead and practice. So I hope you found some value in this. Let me know in the comments below. Are hands tough for you to draw? How do you, what are some tips that you have for drawing hands? I'm open to hearing, other viewpoints on this. This is exactly the way I approach it. It's not the way, but it's just the method that I think makes sense to me. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, drawing the thumb, I'll go ahead and put a link to that, and I will see you in the next video.